Hello there, BookTube. My name is Daniel. Welcome back to my channel, Guilty Feet. I diddy die, diddy die, 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 die. I've got no rhythm. And today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I have here a collection of books that I've taken down from the shelves, books that I received as gifts for my Barmitzvah, which was 42 years ago this year. And a bit of background about what a Barmitzvah is, and then I'll show you some books, but very briefly. So Barmitzvah, when a Jewish male turns 13, he comes of age, and this has very specific meaning for Jews and their participation in the religion. So I become an adult when you turn 13, which simply means that you can participate as an adult and make up parts of a community. There are specific actions and activities and prayers that require what we call a minyan, 10 men, 10 adult males, and at 13 you become someone who can join and participate and make up the quorum. For women, the age is 12. It's slightly airier because of the different requirements on men and women, which is a whole sexist thing that I'm not going to go into. Let's say that many of the commandments that are upon males are not incumbent upon women, because it is acknowledged that their lives will be filled with lots of other things. That doesn't mean they can never do these things. It means they're not obliged to do these things, and that's, let's say, a whole conversation for another time. I'm not commenting one way or the other. Now that's what the whole thing about being bar mitzvah is, the son of the commandments. You become somebody who is obliged to carry out the commandments. And in my day, so my mitzvah was in 1982, with the kind of program for mitzvah is as follows. So you are in synagogue on Saturday morning. At the time of your mitzvah, you are called up, and for the first time as an adult, you get to read the weekly portion, part of, or the whole of the weekly portion, in front of the whole community. And that's reading from a Torah scroll, which is slightly different than reading from a book in that it has no punctuation. There are no notes, so you don't know the tune. So these are all things you have to learn. So my parents hired a bar mitzvah teacher for a year before my bar mitzvah. I would meet with him every single week, and he would teach me my portion. In other words, teach me how to read it, because although I could read basic Hebrew only with the vowels in place, I didn't know the tune, and without the vowels, it's very easy to make a mistake. If you imagine, for example, I'll give you an example. So Hebrew vowels are added in, dots and marks added onto letters, and without them you wouldn't know exactly how to pronounce where the stresses are in a word. So and it's the difference between, I guess, if you take the word R-E-A-D in English, depending on the context, it would be read, or the past participle, read, and you wouldn't know unless you know, unless you understand English. So the same with Hebrew, without clear direction, without knowing what you're reading, you wouldn't necessarily know how to sound it out. Anyway, so I had a teacher for that, and then you stand up on Saturday morning, and everyone's there, and you're dressed in your suit, and the whole community is watching you, and you get to perform in front of all these people. And then what we had was, so that was Saturday morning, Shabbat morning, and then Sunday evening there was a party. And again, this is not typical, normal. This is what seemed to be typical amongst my peers at the time in 1982. I think some things have changed, some things haven't changed. Sunday night we had a big party, black tie. I wore a bow tie. My parents made the party in Lord's banqueting suite. Lord's as in the home of cricket, and this is in St John's Wood in London, and we brought in a kosher caterer and 150 friends, and had a dinner party. At my bar mitzvah there was no music. Usually there's a band and dancing. At my bar mitzvah there was no band and no dancing at my mitzvah party, and this was because my father had recently lost his father, so as a mourner he shouldn't really be attending parties or listening to live music. That's one tradition, and so we cancelled the band, and everyone sat around and schmoozed and chatted for the evening. And just to show you what that might look like, here is a picture of me and my family at my bar mitzvah. I'm going to hold this very briefly up so you can get a close look at what I look like as a 13-year-old. But that is me there in the middle with my late father, younger than I am now, with a full helmet of hair there, and that's 13-year-old Daniel, and the rest of my family, all dressed up, bow tie, a blue velvet jacket, I believe, very fancy. Now I'll take you through some of the books that I received. I've got some books of religious significance, and I have some general books. And I think it harks back to a time where we gave children books. I don't know if that's still the case. I don't know if the modern bar mitzvah boy gets many books. I know I got books. I also got an electric shaver, which I hadn't used for 5 years. I also got some, people would send in checks, which was very nice. And my parents used them to pay for summer camps and things for the next couple of years of my life. Other uses, I got things like letter openers and binoculars and passport holders. There were all sorts of fun things. But I did get some books as well. So I'll take you through some of these books. The first one was a gift from, I said, the man who my parents hired to teach me my bar mitzvah portion. So he sat patiently with me every week and heard me sing and try and remember and bluff my way through the bits that I'd already forgotten. He had recorded a cassette. I still actually have his cassette somewhere. I've thought about looking up his family and maybe returning it to them. I don't know if his children have recordings of his voice, but he recorded the whole thing in his voice that I would sit and listen to on a cassette recorder to try and memorize the thing. His name was Jack Salzado, and this is the gift that he gave me. This is a daily prayer book. This is the Hertz prayer book. So in the synagogue that I went to, and most similar synagogues, there was a standard prayer book that was in use, and it was called the Singer's Prayer Book because Reverend Rabbi Singer was the person who would put it together, and that became standard. I don't think that's the case any longer. This was the same prayer book that my father had used, that he had been given. This is a later edition by Dr. J.H. Hertz, who may have been the chief rabbi at some point, I'm not sure. Anyway, this is the gift that I got, and it's inscribed. He wrote in it, this is my name in Hebrew, Tzvi Daniel ben Abraham Cheskel, and it says, "To Daniel, with every good wish for your future success, this Siddur is a Hebrew prayer book, is to be worn out. Don't let it rust out. Our warmest congratulations on your achievements, from Reverend and Mrs. Salzado." And he was very keen, I think he repeated this to me several times, that a prayer book is to be used and it should be worn out. And I did use this for many years. I don't think I wore it out, because at some point I moved on and started using a different prayer book when I came to seminary here in Israel. This has the Hebrew and the English on alternate pages, so that if you can pray from here and understand the meaning of it here. When I came to seminary and when I learned a bit more Hebrew, I started using more Israeli prayer books, which are just Hebrew. So this now sits on my shelf and rarely comes out. But his message that a prayer book is to be worn out, not rusted out, sort of stayed with me. Other gifts I got, I have this set of festival prayer books. So this is the daily prayer book that's on any normal day, but also includes the separate prayers for Shabbat, for Sabbath. But there are special prayers that we say on the big festivals, and they have their own and special readings from the Torah on those days. And so it's traditional to have a separate set of prayer books, and these are called machzorim. A machzor and a set is called machzorim, and this was gifted to me by my grandfather. So I have this set here, this beautiful leather-bound set of machzorim, and I'll take one out and give you an example. It's leather-bound and has my initials embossed in it and inscribed to me, to Darling Daniel. This was given in March 1981, so actually over a year before my bar mitzvah, with love from Grandpa Sam. And soon after this, I think Grandpa Sam went into hospital and died the following March. He died like 2 or 3 months before my bar mitzvah, and that's why we don't have a band at the bar mitzvah. So I don't know. I always wondered why it was given to me then. Like I wasn't 12 yet, and this was given to me as a gift, but turned out to be prescient, as my grandfather was not at my bar mitzvah. That was my last surviving grandfather. Now, this leather-bound version, the reason I got this is this was a standard festival set of prayer books published by a company called Routledge. So there's you can see Routledge and Sons, Service of the Synagogue. And this is the edition for the eve of Yom Kippur, the eve of the Day of Atonement. Routledge is the only version that has a separate volume for that, and then a whole volume for the Day of Atonement itself. Then before that, we have Rosh Hashanah, the New Year, and then we also have we have Pesach is upcoming, Passover, and then Pentecost is Shavuot and Tabernacles. So I have the complete set here. The reason I got it in this edition, so there's Routledge published in all sorts of variations. You get different ones and leather-bound ones and not leather-bound ones and the plain version. And the reason I got this one is it matched the Siddur that my grandmother. This is that Grandpa Sam was my paternal grandfather. My maternal grandmother had given me this in 1976 when I was 7 years old, and it's all falling apart. But it does say, "Darling Daniel, with all our blessings from Grandma Mattie." So that's why I got that edition. But again, years later, I don't use these very much when it comes at all. When it comes to the festivals, I have a more modern set, Hebrew only, that I purchased starting when I was in seminary and later. And my children who grew up here, who didn't grow up in English synagogues, they have editions with only Hebrew in it because they are totally bilingual. So those are some of the things I got. Okay, let's now look at some of the other gifts I got, which are also kind of fabulous. And the first one's a bit of a cheat because this is not what I got for my Barmitzvah, but because I think we gave away the version I got for my Barmitzvah. But I'm very keen to know if anyone else has one of these in their house. This is a giant world atlas. So this is the National Geographic. I actually got the Britannica World Atlas, and from 1982, many of those, still had the Soviet Union, etc. in it. This is actually an edition that one of my sons got for their Bar Mitzvah, because it was the kind of thing I said, I'm very keen. Every household should have one. Clearly, they're not living in this household anymore, but they decided not to take it with them. This is the Family Reference Atlas of the World. So I'm keen to know if any of you have actual physical atlases in your home. I find this tremendously valuable as a reference. I get that everything's on the internet, and I have other reference books that I use far less, but I find this very useful to be able to look at actually the shape of a country. If I'm looking at the United States, to find out where, what does the Midwest mean, and how the country's divided and where the states are in relation to each other, and then finding specific places when we go on a holiday to know where it is relative to somewhere else or where the airport is. I just find this a valuable reference work. Where else can you get a 2-page spread on Turkey? This is, I guess, so this is from my son's mitzvah, which is already now 15 years ago. So there may have been changes since then, but more up to date than the one. So I think we gave away my Britannica Atlas, maybe donate it to a library or something else. I have some other books here. This was, you can see, this is also completely worn out and cover separated. But because I read the heck out of this book, this is the Guinness Book of Answers. Not the Guinness Book of World Records, which put out an edition every year. This is edited by Norris McWhirter, who was one of the McWhirter twins, who for many years were editors of the Guinness Book of World Records until Norris's twin brother Ross McWhirter was assassinated by the IRA. I remember that very clearly. Remember that when that happened. And Norris McWhirter was a sort of dour gentleman, never seemed to enjoy life very much, but was obsessed, and this was his life's work. And this, the Guinness Book of Answers, is, as I say, not like the Guinness Book of World Records. This is like an almanac or an encyclopedia of usefulness. So, for example, it's broken up into sections: the calendar, the Earth, geology, meteorology, astronomy, metrology. What's the meteorology and metrology? What the hell is metrology? I don't even know what metrology is. If meteorology is weather, what's metrology? I'm now going to find out. Metrology, in essence, measurement involves comparison. As in, okay, there's all different units of measurement. Just as a teenager in school, just a super valuable reference work across a whole range of subjects. Language and literature had all the capital cities. It had animals and where they exist, trees and their phylum, and just really super valuable stuff. And this was a book that I would take with me to the toilet, sorry folks, and just read the tallest smokestacks and towers in the United Kingdom. Well, if that isn't useful, I don't know. Why would you not want to know what the tallest smokestacks and towers? It's everything a 15-year-old boy wants to read about. And then a sort of little entry on every country of the world, what the population is, what the language, the religion, the capital city, head of state. Obviously, this is woefully out of date now, but say in the 80s, in school, pre-internet, this was super valuable. And this was gifted to me. It's got, I think it's inscribed, to Daniel, with every best wishes from, and these are my father's cousins in Glasgow, who would have sent this down. So this was, I don't know how this would have arrived to me, either in the post or someone would have brought it down, or maybe, I'm not even sure if they came to the actual Barmitzvah party. They might have brought it with them that night. But what an excellent gift. Price £6.95. But that's just a first class gift for a 13-year-old boy, and I really appreciated that. In a similar vein, I have the 7th edition Hutchinson 20th Century Encyclopedia. This may be a book that I've referred to less and less over the years, but it still sits on my shelf, proud a place in the reference section. And this says, to Daniel, with love and best wishes on the occasion of your Barmitzvah. And this is from my father's first cousin and her family. His daughter lives in Tel Aviv, and I bump into her occasionally from time to time. That was my second cousin, and she's terrific. And this is dated the date of the Barmitzvah party. So again, they might have brought this with them to Lord's and left it with me there, or I'm not sure when they would have given it. But a fantastic encyclopedias. Do they even exist anymore? Does anyone, a single volume? What a terrific gift! They have they cut the price out. So that's classy. They would have removed the price with a pair of scissors. So I wouldn't know how much they'd spent. But again, I think this was a terrific work of reference for me as a student. Let's look at some of these entries here. I've opened up in the G's, and I've got Goa, Goat, Gobelin, the name of a French tapestry manufactory. Originally founded as the dye works in Paris by Gilles and Jean-Gilles about 1450. Interesting. The Gobiers in the desert. Gobineau, Joseph Arthur Comte, French diplomat and writer. Interesting. God. It's in there. Godalming, who's followed by God. Then Jean-Luc Godard, who's still alive at this point. Gödel, as in Kurt Gödel, as Godfrey de Bouillon, who I don't know, a crusader, the second son of Count Eustace II of Boulogne. Super interesting. Lady Godiva, as in Godiva, and then God Save the King / Queen. Well, at this point, it was God Save the Queen. It's now God Save the King. Just absolutely super valuable reference work that, again, I would have used on several occasions. We had also in my house the complete Encyclopedia Britannica, which was 20 volumes with the 10-volume Macropedia. So you started there, looked something up, and it referred you to what you wanted to know further in the main encyclopedia. So we had that as well, but this would have sat in my room, and short of going downstairs and digging out and cross-referencing longer form answers to the questions that my school was posing, I might have gone to this and turned to this. And the last thing, I think these, I'm pretty sure these were both gifted by the same family. Friends of mine, one of my oldest friends who I was in school with when I was very young, and then in school with for 11 years, and who I'm still in touch with and I see whenever I go back to the UK, and his parents, who I often see also when I'm back in London. And they gave me, I'm pretty sure this is a significant gift. I'm pretty sure they gave me both these things. The first of them is a book called Words of the Wise, and in Hebrew, Divrei Chachamim, which literally means words of the wise. And this is a book of quotations, specifically quotations from the Bible and then the Talmud and all commentaries therein. So like all books of quotations, it's referenced, it's subjects, and the subjects are in English. So for example, under G, I should get my glasses, here we go. The G, we have gambling. So there's two quotes for gambling. One is from the Talmud and one is from Leon of Medina. Leon of Medina says, a gambler breaks all 10 commandments. Let's see what else. We've got some other classic. Laughter. And this is from Proverbs. Gam b'schok yochev lev. Even in laughter, the heart can ache. That's super interesting. Okay. And then just the reference here is just Yiddish. This is a Yiddish expression which says, weep before God, but laugh before people. Okay. Again, I love a good book of quotations. I had the Oxford Book of Quotations, and I've got a more modern version now. I've got a book of modern quotations. These were kind of things that as a bookish, readerly child, that you could just open up a book of quotations and read that. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, Churchill said that. And this is a specifically Jewish-oriented book of quotations. Words of the Wise. This was a great gift, often given out to Bar Mitzvah boys. And I say I've still got my copy. I think my father kept a copy at home as well. And it says, to Daniel, on the occasion of your Bar Mitzvah, with our sincere wishes for a healthy, happy, and successful future, we hope that throughout your life you will find inspiration from the quotations contained in this book. And it's signed, as I say, from my friend, his parents, my friend and his sister, in June 1982. That's Word of the Wise, terrific book. in addition to this, I'm fairly sure, I should double check with them next time I see them, but this is my memory since I'm 13. They gave me this, but they also gave me perhaps the greatest gift that I've received, but I don't think they wrote in this, or maybe they did. Oh, they did as well. Okay, good. Okay, so first of all, I'm correct. It says, to Daniel, on the occasion, I looked in the wrong volume when I didn't see the quote. On the occasion of a mitzvah with our sincere wishes for healthy happiness in the future, we hope that this dictionary will be in constant use. Remember, no man is wise without books. Well, I don't think that makes me wise having books, but I think the principle that it's impossible to be wise without books may still have some truth. This is the 2-volume shorter Oxford English Dictionary. What an outstanding gift. I've had this on my shelf for 42 years. You can see that's just wear and tear, these books. There rarely goes a week where I don't take this down and look something up, even with the internet. What the shorter Oxford English has, and this is the density of the text that you can see, and just what's going on there. But the shorter has etymologies, I believe. For example, if I let this pick up a word, something nice. There's so many good words. But I start over here with disjunction, and it said it's from the Old French. And let's pick up a word like that we know has an interesting. Oh, here's a good one. We know has an interesting etymology. Let's look up juggernaut. So the first volume is A to mark-worthy, and then mal to z, and there's addenda. Let's see if juggernaut is in here. H-I. Oh, there's very few J's. Jackanapes. No. Jargon. No. Jelly. I don't know what jelly means. Gin. J-I-N-N. I guess they're alternative spellings of that. Journal. Jolly. Jolloped. Judge. Juggle. Juggle. Jugate. Jugful. Juggins. Whoa. So juggernaut is not in here. I wonder if juggernaut, this is going to be very embarrassing on camera, I wonder if juggernaut is in the addenda. Okay, this is me filming a bit more after I finished that, because I did a whole long embarrassing ending there where I couldn't find juggernaut in the dictionary and bad-mouthed the shorter Oxford English, looked up anyway. After I finished filming, I'm not going to even add in that part, which is just me saying, well, this was a failure. After I finished filming, I went back and found the word juggernaut in the dictionary, which I totally missed. It was right there. You hear me going through it and reading Jugate, and right below that, just for proof, there is, can you see that? There is juggernaut. Okay, so now I will read you the dictionary definition of juggernaut according to the Short Oxford English Dictionary. This is 1980 edition. It says it's from the Hindi. See, and there it gives you the etymology. Jagannath, from Jagat, world, and Nathos, Lord. Hindu myth, a title of Krishna, the 8th avatar of Vishnu. The image of this deity at Puri in Orissa, annually dragged in procession on an enormous car, under the wheels of which devotees are said to have thrown themselves, to be crushed. And the figurative meaning of juggernaut then is anything to which persons blindly devote themselves or are ruthlessly sacrificed. I think that I wonder when the first use of the word juggernaut is to describe a sort of a giant lorry, or maybe is that an American thing? In England, we would call that a juggernaut, going down the highway, one of these massive lorries or trucks, what do you call them, with huge massive trailers. You'd call that a juggernaut. And then of course there's the Marvel character Juggernaut, is a great name for a villain. But yes, it is in there. So I'm never going to show you the whole thing where I apologize, and I'm embarrassed that the word I chose to look up didn't exist, because it is in there. I hope you keep well. God bless. Bye.